At my son's vineyard wedding, his fiancée let out a little laugh and said, 62 grand. That's the price of admission. My ex gave a dry cough and added, or you can just watch from the road. I glanced down at the invitation, murmured under my breath, and silently tapped one button on my phone. Within 5 minutes, the power went out, the music cut mid-beat, and a helicopter landed, right on their wedding cake. And that, believe it or not, was just the opening act. 62,000, Dad, Brielle said without even lifting her eyes from her pristine little wedding binder. That's your entry fee. She said it like she was quoting a price off a wine list, like we weren't standing under the same vineyard arch where I was supposed to witness my only child get married in a few weeks. I blinked, wondering if I'd heard her correctly. But then Vanessa, my ex-wife, let out a chuckle masked as a cough. Or, she added, lazily swirling her overpriced glass of champagne, you can always catch it from the hill. There's a great view. That? That was their version of a compromise. We were supposedly having a casual family moment, a pre-wedding wine tasting. The kind of casual that's fully catered, obsessively documented on social media, and held together with fake smiles and tense silence. Brielle wore a crisp white linen dress without a single wrinkle. Vanessa had on something that looked vaguely spiritual and completely phony. My son Ethan just stared down into his wine glass like he was waiting for it to give him the answers. I watched him. I waited. Dad, this really isn't about money, he finally said, though even he sounded unsure. It's about showing support, being part of it. He hesitated. Brielle's parents chipped in a lot. I knew exactly what that meant. Her father bought the venue, her mother hired the drone guy, and me? I was supposed to be grateful just to breathe in their vineyard air. I looked down at the invitation resting on the table, thick cardstock with gold trim, like it belonged in a royal summons. At the bottom, in delicate script, was a note. Attendance requires contribution to the Joy Fund, $62,000 minimum. Below it were two boxes, accept with contribution, or simply decline. I didn't say anything, just pulled out my phone, scrolled through my contacts until I found the one I hadn't touched in months, and tapped a single button. Activate, I said flatly and calmly. 5 minutes. That's all it would take. I could still hear Vanessa whispering to Brielle, probably some smug remark about how I was always so theatrical. Let them talk. I'd booked it weeks ago. They thought it was for drone footage. I never corrected them. It wasn't revenge. I wasn't angry. I just needed them to understand, without saying a single word. Exactly 4 minutes and 38 seconds later, the lights began to flicker. The delicate string lanterns above the tables went black. The speakers went silent mid-song. This wasn't destruction. It wasn't spite. It was a message, not to them, but to myself. A quiet declaration of limits, carried on the wind in time to the second. The vineyard was swallowed in an uncertain hush. Then just above the trees, a low and rising roar filled the air. A helicopter approached. People gasped. One woman actually screamed. The wind from the blades sent wine glasses flying and tore menus from their clips. They'd brought in a replica of the real wedding cake. For pictures, they said. A visual run-through. Apparently, even the frosting needed a dress rehearsal. Brielle shrieked, "My cake!" as the gust of wind lifted the entire fondant beast off its stand like it weighed nothing. The helicopter descended like a surgeon, right onto the custom floral aisle runner. I didn't flinch. I just stood there, still holding the invitation in one hand, my thumb resting on the remote in my pocket. And that was just the start. But before we dive into what followed the helicopter, let's backtrack. Let me explain how everything led to this. The first time I covered Ethan's college tuition, he texted me, "T-checks." That was it. No phone call. No, "Thank you for securing my future." Just 3 lazy letters and a thumbs-up emoji. I convinced myself he was just busy. The second time, it was Brielle who reached out, not to express gratitude, but to ask for more money. "Can we increase the rent help for the new place? Parking's not included," she wrote. Not a word about excitement. "No, we found a great spot." Just another invoice in disguise. It had been like that for years. After the divorce, I faded into the background. Vanessa got the house. I got the bills. I didn't push for much. I just wanted my son to feel secure. That's what I told myself every time I wired money. Every time I let Vanessa play the part of the strong, rebuilding single mom while I worked weekends to fund yoga retreats and Ethan's annual MacBook emergencies. I kept thinking, if I just hold out a little longer, they'll finally see what I've done. But they never did. Ethan graduated and moved in with Brielle, into a condo I'd co-signed for. Not that anyone ever mentioned that part. She called it their freedom phase, as if I wasn't still paying the water bill. Then came the wedding, and in the beginning it was supposed to be simple. It all started simple. Just a courthouse ceremony, maybe a quiet dinner afterward. That was the original plan. Then her parents stepped in, and suddenly it turned into a 200-guest vineyard extravaganza, complete with 3 wardrobe changes, a champagne wall, and a string quartet flown in from Italy. The excuse, the groom's side should match the bride's vibe, but instead of asking me if I could help, they just slapped a number in my face, $62,000. I told them I needed time to think. 2 days later, my face appeared in a private Facebook group titled Vendor Confirmations, the inner circle of their wedding circus. Brielle had posted a poll asking which chair design screamed generational wealth the loudest. And right beneath that, a comment that read, waiting on groom's dad's payment to lock in the tent design. I hadn't agreed to anything. That same day, I got a message from Vanessa. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. They're your family too. I was still trying to make sense of it all. Then Vanessa again, think faster. You're already behind on the deposit. And Ethan? Not a single word. No, hey Dad, I'm sorry they dragged you into this. Nothing. I let it slide. Told myself I'd handle it after the wine tasting. Big mistake. The day after the helicopter wrecked their overpriced cake, I expected a blow-up. Instead, there was radio silence. And then came the smear campaign. Brielle's cousin, someone I hadn't seen since Ethan's high school graduation, posted a shaky video from the tasting. It was just me, standing there quietly. The caption, when the dad thinks it's his big day. Hashtag toxic masculinity. Hashtag my wedding, not yours. The comments exploded. Didn't he abandon them? Deadbeat energy. If you're broke, just say that. They'd weaponize their silence. And for a while it worked. Until I got a call from Sophie, my niece, Vanessa's sister's kid. The one who always kept to herself at family dinners, quietly soaking in the chaos. She was crying. They're saying terrible things about you in the family group chat, she told me. I sighed. Figures. No, she said. They're rewriting everything. They're saying you refused to help, that you tried to sabotage the wedding, that the helicopter was your way of having a breakdown. She paused. Brielle's telling people you were unhinged. I didn't respond. Then she started sending screenshots. Dozens of them. Messages from Vanessa. He always had control issues. I'm honestly scared of what he might do. From Brielle. We were nice about it. He's just bitter Ethan isn't his little boy anymore. And the one that crushed me, from Ethan. He's just mad he's not the center of attention. That one hit me in a way nothing else had. The next morning I drove to a storage unit I hadn't touched in 5 years. Way in the back, under a dusty box labeled tax docs, I found it. An old external hard drive. A backup of Ethan's high school laptop. I'd saved it when he moved out, thinking maybe he'd want those old photos someday. Instead, I found something else. PDF files, spreadsheets, invoices, a folder titled Dad Help, Money with Wings. Inside were hundreds of documents, proof of years of financial support, forwarded emails, bank statements, transfer receipts. One document stood out, a shared wedding planning sheet, every vendor, every cost, and a column labeled Dad's Share. $62,000 wasn't a suggestion. It was an assigned figure, and next to it, a comment from Brielle. If he doesn't pay, we cut him. Drama equals content anyway. They were going to use me either way. That's when I found the audio file, a voice memo that had auto-synced from Brielle's phone backups. It was a call between her and her mother. I played it. He won't come unless we beg, Brielle said, laughing. Then don't beg, her mom replied. Fine, let him sulk, Brielle answered. We'll just say he was unstable. No one questions trauma anymore. I played it 3 times. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because I could. A week later, I got a wedding update email. Apparently, the venue was under investigation due to electrical inconsistencies. Was that my doing? Maybe. Did I admit to it? Never. Then came the next hit, an email from Ethan. Not a phone call, not even a text, an email. Hey, Dad, given everything that's happened, we think it's best you don't attend. You'll be refunded your RSVP contribution. All the best, Ethan. Refunded, I hadn't paid them a dime. So I hit reply, typed 2 words, declined refund, and then I attached something. The voice memo, the one where Brielle and her mother plotted to label me unstable. Then I blind CC'd every vendor listed in that wedding spreadsheet, and I signed off, from the father of the groom, still paying, still watching. The next day, the cake designer dropped out. The violinist posted a cryptic TikTok about refusing to work unethical events. Then someone hacked Brielle's Pinterest board and swapped all her mood boards with black and white photos of wedding disasters. And just like that, I got another email. Then came the next email. This one from Vanessa. What are you doing? You're going to ruin his life. You've always hated when someone else loves him more than you do. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded the message to Sophie with the subject line, file under, gaslight. Then I dialed a number I hadn't touched in years, my brother Miles. He left the family when he was 22, disappeared into the Alaskan wilderness, and never looked back. At the time, I thought he was just angry. Now I realized he was just ahead of the curve. Miles, I said, you still have that drone license? He laughed. Still got the drone too. What's up? He asked. I gave him the date, the time, and the coordinates. I didn't want footage of the wedding. I wanted what came after. See, I wasn't even planning on showing up to their big day. But once they cut me from the guest list for refusing to pay the $62,000, things changed. No warning, no conversation, just a slick PR statement online. Not everyone can handle joy. And that's okay. Our wedding, our peace. They painted me as the villain, unstable, jealous, dangerous. So I hit the button. And no, that helicopter wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated move. I called Miles, my estranged brother, ex-military, now in logistics. A man who can source anything with the right words. I used the right words. I paid for the flight, hired the pilot, filed the permit. And months ago, back when I offered to help with setup, I'd quietly marked the center of the lawn. They thought I was just pitching in, but really I was marking the landing zone, right where they ended up placing the cake. The chopper arrived exactly 5 minutes after I gave the signal. At first, the guests looked up, smiling, thought it was some luxury wedding stunt. Then came the wind. It tore veils, shattered champagne flutes, and sent custom seating charts flying like confetti. Then the cake, an $8,000 sugar monument, lifted, spun, and burst apart like a frosted firework. Vanessa shrieked. Brielle just stood there, shell-shocked and covered in fondant. And Ethan, my son, stared at the wreckage like it was holding up a mirror. But I didn't watch the chaos unfold. I walked through it, calm, deliberate. I headed straight for the stage where a microphone had been set up for first dance speeches. I picked it up. No yelling, just steady voice. Before the dancing begins, I said, I'd like to offer the first truth. The crowd went silent. Phones came out. Brielle rushed toward me, shouting, You're trespassing. This is harassment. I didn't even glance her way. Instead, I pulled out a tablet, opened it, and hit play. Her voice, loud and clear, rang through the speakers. He won't come unless we beg. Then don't beg. We'll say he was unstable. Nobody questions trauma anymore. It was Brielle and her mother. I scanned the room. That's from her iCloud backup, I said. Synced to a phone she forgot I still had access to. She planned to frame me if I didn't pay. Gasps echoed through the vineyard. Brielle lunged for the tablet. I stepped back. Relax, I told her. There are multiple copies, one's already with the venue's legal team, since my credit card covered their deposit. That shut her down. Then I opened another file, the shared Google Doc. Wedding Master Planning Sheet. I zoomed into column E, Dad's share, $62,000. Next to it, a comment from Brielle. If he refuses, cut him. Drama equals content anyway. I held the screen toward the guests. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Screenshots speak louder than tears. Then I handed the mic to someone else, Sophie, the one person in that entire family who ever asked if I was okay. She stepped up, voice steady. Hi, I'm Sophie. I read the family chat. I saw what they said about him. I saved it, just in case they tried to twist the truth later. She tapped the screen. More messages appeared. He's selfish. He'll cave eventually. If not, we cut him during the rehearsal dinner. Makes for better headlines. The gasp got louder. Vanessa stood up, trembling. You can't do this. Not here. Not today. I looked her in the eyes. You already did this. I'm just finishing the sentence. Brielle tried one last time. You're ruining our wedding. I shook my head. Number, I'm answering it. You put a price on family, so I'm sending you the invoice. People started shifting. Some guests quietly left. Others filmed. A few wiped their eyes. Ethan, still silent, looked at me. Just once. I didn't say a word. Not to him. Not anymore. I placed the tablet down on the stage, turned around, and walked away. Behind me, the wedding playlist picked back up, pretending like nothing had happened. Maybe to them it hadn't. But for me, that was the last time I'd ever stand quietly in the center of a lie and let it pretend to be love. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls, 12 from Vanessa, 7 from Ethan, 3 from a number I didn't recognize, which turned out to belong to a wedding influencer. And, oddly enough, 1 from Brielle's dad. I didn't pick up a single one. Instead, I made myself a strong coffee, sat down at my laptop, and typed out a single post. Title, My Role in the Wedding, a statement, no names, no mudslinging, just receipts. I uploaded screenshots, the planning doc that listed Dad's share like I was a vendor, Ethan's cold message saying I was no longer essential, the voice memo where Brielle casually plotted to weaponize the trauma narrative. I added payment confirmations, deposits for the venue, the dress, even the damn chair covers. No rants, no raves. Just a quiet declaration. This isn't revenge. This is about patterns. This is about the cost of staying quiet. And what happens when you finally stop letting people invoice your guilt? Within an hour, it had 3,000 shares. By lunchtime, it was everywhere. A popular wedding subreddit pinned it to the top. Someone made a TikTok with soft piano music in the background and captions breaking down the drama. The hashtag #JoyFundJustice started trending. But what truly hit? The comments from vendors. We were told he refused to contribute. Turns out he was the only one who did. One wrote, confirmed, he paid for the cake, the one that ended up airborne. By evening, their wedding photographer announced he was pulling out. He posted to his Instagram stories, if a wedding starts with lies, I won't be the one trying to crop around them. That night, I got an email from a podcast producer. She wanted to feature me. The dad who said no. I turned it down. Not out of fear, just because I didn't need to prove myself anymore. Instead, I did something else. I launched a website, not a blog, a brand, declined, minimalist layout, stark black and white. Just one sentence on the homepage. You don't owe toxic people your presence. Read the truth, then write your own. No drama, no accusations, just the facts. The files were all there, accessible, open, and unfiltered. By the next morning, I had 3 speaking requests in my inbox. 1 from a conference on setting boundaries, 1 from a retreat for estranged adult children, and 1 from a publishing house. I smiled, not because I wanted attention, but because for the first time, the story was mine. And the family? Oh, they didn't go quiet. Ethan posted a blurry Instagram story. Blood is thicker than screenshots. Brielle followed up with a tearful TikTok. We were just trying to protect our peace. Vanessa? She went full essay mode. Posted a 900-word manifesto on Facebook titled, When Narcissists Hijack Sacred Days. She compared me to a disturbed saboteur. Then she tagged my mother, a woman I hadn't spoken to in years. But she commented back, "Told you this would happen if you kept treating him like a debit card." Just like that, their echo chamber began to crack. And then the twist no one expected. Brielle's ex-fiancé messaged me, said he'd seen everything, said, "Now it all makes sense." He said thank you. Then he sent me a screenshot. It was a thread from a private Discord Brielle had posted in, where she talked about how to leverage trauma optics for brand deals. He forwarded it to one of her sponsors. 48 hours later, her skincare collaboration dropped her. The brand released a statement. "We stand for honesty and empathy, not manipulated narratives." I didn't gloat, didn't post, didn't share. Some wins don't need an audience. Some victories are better left quiet. But I did make a few changes. I got a new phone number, set up a fresh voicemail. If you're calling to apologize, please know it's already been accepted. By me. For me. Not for you. I moved, not across the country, just far enough. A small cabin on the edge of Mendocino. Solar-powered, fully paid off. There's a steel sign by the mailbox. Matte black letters. Declined. Some people build fences. I built a sentence. It's calm here. No buzzing phones. No, "Hey Dad, can you just..." Messages. No guest lists. No drones in the sky. Just wind whispering through the trees. The crunch of gravel under my boots. And the occasional fox who looks at me like I owe him breakfast. And for the first time in my life, I don't owe anyone anything. But they tried one last time. 2 weeks after the wedding chaos settled, I got a letter. An actual one. In the mail. It was from Ethan. 3 handwritten pages. Folded with care. It started. "I know I didn't stand up for you. I know I let it happen. But I didn't know how far it really went." It wasn't an apology. It was a receipt. Signed too late. I didn't write back. Didn't need to. Because closure doesn't come from hearing, "I'm sorry." It comes from knowing you weren't crazy to begin with. Brielle sent a DM. Just one line. "You ruined my life." I left it unanswered. People think silence is weakness. Let them. Sometimes silence is peace that finally stopped performing. Funny thing is, once people realize they can't use you, they do one of two things. They disappear, or they try to catch up to a journey they never helped build. Vanessa did both. First, she vanished from social media. Then she came back, rebranded as a healing coach. She posted some inspirational quote over a lavender-filtered sky. Sometimes the villain is just the person who finally said no. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. She just didn't realize she was quoting her own reflection. I didn't turn this into a personal brand. I turned it into a life. I opened a consultancy, remote work, private clients, real stories, people who needed help saying no to the people who never heard enough. My first workshop? How to say no without writing a novel. It sold out in 2 days. The land? I named it. No pin on Google Maps, no location tags. But there's a gate at the trailhead. Steel letters, same font as the wedding invitation, only this one says, "The RSVP is still declined." No request for payment, no tiny gold box to check. Just the full stop of a man who's done explaining himself. Sometimes hikers reach the end of the trail and stare at the gate. Some ask if I'm the guy who landed a helicopter on a wedding cake. I am, but not because I wanted revenge, because I needed to breathe. I don't check the family group chat. Sophie left it. Ethan is still in it, quiet from what I hear. Vanessa shares quotes. Brielle's aunt posts MLM links. Nothing's changed, but I don't scroll because I'm not in there. I don't regret the money, or the silence I shattered, or the storm I caused. You don't regret saving yourself. And that's what this was. Not a tantrum, not revenge, just the sound of entitlement drying up, and me finally turning off the tap. The other day, a delivery guy asked about the sign. "Why declined?" he said. I smiled. Because some invitations aren't worth answering. And that was the last sentence I ever owed anyone.